Okay, guys, welcome back. So today I have a special guest from Voracious Market. Is the person, the wonderful, the famous person, Linna, who also has the same name as me. I don't know, like, why she's trying to be like me, but
No, I mean, I really think that instead of this being the spring roll interview or spring roll show, I really think that this should be the Linna and Linna show. What do you think?
the Linna and Linna show, yeah, that might be a new thing. Let's do it. And then Linna with two N's, Linna with one N, which is like a typical Khmer name, but it's not really a Khmer name, right?
I know. I don't know how it
name.
happened, or where it came from, or how.
I've been meaning to ask my mom. It's been like 30 something years now, so I'll ask her.
So one day I'll be interested in how you got your name.
Okay, I'm gonna ask her. I'm gonna see my mom this weekend, so let me ask. So I wanted to talk a little bit about your business, but I don't think a lot of times people see the person behind the business. So when I first came back onto social media doing Spring Roll Fever, there was a lot of like food content out there, and I know that I wanted to come back doing food, and I was like, I remember ordering Voracious Market for like the first time, and I was like, I don't want to embarrass myself and put like the first like video that I did like coming back and doing like the beef jerky challenges and eating for Hulk. It was so bad. Now I feel like it's been like almost a year and a half or 2 years, and Voracious Market is completely different from when I remember like first ordering from you. You got Charles doing the marketing piece, and you've got all these sauce lines that are awesome. If you guys have not tried it yet, like I said, my favorite right now is the spicy truffle aioli sauce, and I know you got another one. Yeah, it's the pineapple. Yeah. But I mean, I love all the other stuff too. So I know you and I kind of talked about like our love for food and how like Asians or like Khmer people, we don't really show emotion or how we show love. Like we don't necessarily say I love you, but I show love through cooking you food. Like if I cook you food, like that's how I show love for you. You know what I mean? Like I care about you, because I don't know how to say I care about you. And you kind of have a similar like way of growing up as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So before we dive into that discussion, can I just say this is my vote here for you to include the old spring roll videos, or at least a clip of it in this interview, the ones that you did for us. Come on! Because I remember when I first came across it, and I was like, whoa, who's this girl? And I remember showing it to someone. They're like, what? That's spring roll. She's a legend. I was like, what is spring roll? And then after some time, I was like, okay, all right, I know who's spring roll. And I remember the old content, like was it the crazy or the angry mom or Cambodian mom? Yeah.
Cambodian mom. Yeah.
And so anyway, so I'm sure that's a long story in itself, but can I just vote to say you put a clip of, it was the jerky.
I'll put it right here. And my hair is like crazy too. And it was like when I first got to New York, and I was like, let me just get back to doing videos again. And I was like, I wasn't sure like how to do it. And I remember it was like hot in that apartment, and I was like, how do I be on camera again? And this aspect, you know, because I was so used to doing skits, but doing food is completely different. I think it's also my way of showing like, here's a Cambodian owned company like sauces, and I do this for like a lot of like different companies. I want to highlight like those are the ones that I personally like and want to showcase, and I think that's really awesome that you're able to get sauces out to folks, especially for like me. Like at the time I was like living in Florida, and when I was in Chicago and living in New Hampshire, like people can't get access to these sauces, and sometimes we don't want to make it, so it's good that you're able to make it.
Thank you. So I thought it was great, and that it was pretty iconic to like be part of that time period where you kind of like made your comeback. You know, and then we saw your video, I was like, oh my God, that's so cool, you know? So just to say, so kudos to that, and thank you for that, for allowing us to kind of like being a part of that journey where you kind of came back when, so thank you.
Yeah, just very awkward.
So back to the topic of showing love through food. So you know, I think oftentimes in at least culturally, I could say for us, like at least in my experience, like we grew up in a household where we didn't get the I love yous or the hugs or like, hey honey, are you okay? What can I do for you? Like, we didn't get that kind of coddling that I felt like I saw a lot. Well, not a lot, but I mean, in hindsight, when you think about it now, like you see it a lot in like these days, you know, where how parents actually parent, you know, and but then I will say that our parents showed love by providing food for us, getting food on the table, providing a roof for our heads. And although I would say only until recently, where my mom was a bit more, I'd say, emotional, more I love yous and I care about you. That was very recent. And I would say it took a lot of time. And it's a different time these days. We're in a different age. But then it was just like, okay, Linna, you want this? Or like, my daughter's sick, I'm going to make her baba. Or like, even like now, I would say, like, if I'm sick and like, so usually like when I'm sick, I'm just like, leave me alone. Nobody talks to me. Let me just, but my mom's way of showing love is, okay, I need to rush over. I need to drop everything that I'm doing right now. I'm going to go make her some baba. I'm going to go bring some OJ. So I feel like it's kind of had a carryover with me as well. I show love through food. If I love you, I'm going to cook for you, you know? And I will say I do have people asking me like, hey, Linna, can you cook me? Or Linna, can you do this? And I'm very selective these days, you know, as I've gotten older. Before it was, I'm just going to feed everybody, but feed the community as in like my friends and the people who like, oh, Linna, can I get a taste or whatever? So now it's just like, I'm pretty selective just because I'm so busy. And anyway, that's besides the point. But what I'm saying is, if I feed you, like Linna, if you came here in Seattle, if I feed you and host you, it's because I have love for you, you know, and it's my way of showing that love and taking care of you and so on and so forth.
Same.
So
I think,
that's the gist of it. And then I would say that's how Voracious also started, you know, like I was hosting a lot of feasts amongst friends. Like we do like butter skillet, and with butter skillet there's like an enormous variety of sauces, you know. And like Yauhan, even like aside from like the basic, I think people usually use like the bean curd sauce, but I always had like just a variety of different sauces. And like people would ask like, hey, you know, and then that's pretty much what birthed Voracious, out of hosting and feeding people, my friends, and people always asking about it. Hey, can you make this? And I was like, you know what? Let's see if there's a market for this. And so that's where I kind of like ventured out. I will say I too was inspired by someone in particular, Mong Chad. He's located in Long Beach, California. I would say he was probably like one of the pioneers in terms of doing for like a lot of the Khmer people, in terms of, I think he started off doing like crawfish boils for people, catering, and then I saw him doing sauces and things like that. And so I would say he was probably like one of the inspirations that really just, where I thought I had it in my head, like, okay, if he's doing it, then maybe I could possibly do it too. So yeah, big ups to Bang Chad for pioneering the way for a lot of us. So yeah.
Yeah, love Bang Chad. I think he was the one of the first people I ordered stuff online, like when I was off social media too. And then I think when I moved to New York and coming back, I was like, there's like Voracious Market too? Like, is this like Khmer and all this stuff? And I, you know, you guys both have like websites and all that stuff. And I think slowly down the, you know, as a discovery, and also other people coming out with their own lines too. And I never really thought about like this is like an influencer thing, but I think for me, when I'm looking, I was like, well, what does Voracious Market taste like or look like? But there's not really that information out there. So I was like, well, why don't I taste it and then let other Khmer people know? Because I think, and I talked to this about Charles too, is like, we want to know what tastes good. I think we tend to be very picky or whatever. And if it doesn't taste good, it's like a done deal. Like, you're like, oh, don't order from that one or order from that one. You know what I mean? So I think,
absolutely.
I think, you know, because our community is small too, it's like we all know like everybody's sauces. And I think I've tried so many that people will come and ask me like, is it really good? I'm just like, well, I cannot say, but I will say to you in a private message. But yeah.
And you know, so speaking of influencers, you're an influencer, Springwell. And I know what you like. So, and like when we talk about Bang Chad, it's like you love his Cajun sauce.
I really do. Like, for Bang Chad, like the Cajun sauce, I would say for you, like this right now, the spicy truffle aioli, and then what else do I like? The habanero, the spicy habanero.
You like that one, but that one's for you.
I can eat that one in the bathroom. Like it goes right through me. I'm not gonna lie. And I think you sent it to me on purpose to be funny, because I was like, I feel like she knows that I know that I don't really do spicy, but it tastes so good with like seafood, especially like clams, and just to dip it with some crab legs or something. Oh my god, perfect. Yeah, I mean everything else is good, but I would say that those two things are my favorite.
Yeah.
So,
thank you.
Yeah. So Voracious. Why Voracious?
Like why the name Voracious. Or why the business? Oh, like.
Well, why the name? Because like I think like people ask me, is it a market? Like, can I go to the store and like get it? Like, no, I think that's just it's the name. It's not a store.
Yeah, I know. So apologize in advance, everyone. I know that it's a little bit complicated because I get inquiries too. Like, okay, Voracious Market. Like people think market, okay, it's a storefront. It's a market, right? What is a market? Market is like a store, a physical store. So basically, so Voracious Market literally just only happened in the last couple years or so. If even that, actually, I wish I had a better idea of like the dates. But Voracious Market actually started with Voracious Jerky. So at the time, so that was about 4 years ago, I was producing only jerky, and that's where the name Voracious Jerky comes from. And then at that point, I felt like I just wanted to do more, you know? I mean, the jerky, it was doing pretty well. I think it was pretty well received by people, but I just wanted to do more. So that's when I explored sauces and expanded into that market. But I needed like an umbrella name where everything else will fall right underneath that, right? So Voracious Market it was. So under Voracious Market, we have Voracious Jerky, we have Voracious Sauces, and then we have Voracious Spices. So I know that it's a little bit complicated, like, because people think that, okay, why Voracious Market? Anyways, but just so people could have an understanding, like we needed a name where everything else could fall under that. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I like that you guys made the switch from glass to plastic, which, you know, environmental, but as long as you recycle. But the glass, I felt like I was like getting so much glass, like of mason jars. And my joke at that point was like, I'm just gonna do a giveaway of mason jars because I have about 20 mason jars.
Oh, you did that?
Yes. No,
that's awesome.
It was like a joke.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, right. I mean, that should be a giveaway in itself if you have leftover mason jars. But I can't keep all of them. But now I think like
so it's funny. It's funny you say that about the mason jars because I remember literally just before I launched and I merged over to the plastics. I was on a FaceTime call with you and I was like, yeah, you know, like I wanted to send your stuff. And you're like, I got no more room in the fridge. Because you had like so many like mason jars filling up your fridge of like people's sauces and this and that and the other. And then I remember checking in with you again. I'm like, okay, so can I send it? And you're like, oh yeah, cool. You gave me the go ahead. And I think it's because like you just filled up your entire fridge with mason jars.
I know, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. But I do like the design, and my question for you too is, do you think that it will be in like stores? How do you get to that level of like selling it? Like I would love to go into Target one day and just see Voracious Market like right there, because those bottles are uniquely branded.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we definitely, so when I first started Voracious Jerky, it was more of a hobby, I would say. I definitely didn't think the long haul with it until I found that there was an actual market for it, right? And then soon after, of course, I got into sauces, and then I saw that there was a market for it. And thereafter, once I really stepped in, really immersed myself into the sauces, where I decided, the dream is to have this go internationally. So yeah, it is. It's gonna get there in time. Just right now, it's like I have to move a little bit cautiously because I have other commitments going on right now in my life in terms of like full-time job and school and this, that, and the other. So, but it will. I am anticipating. I don't want to speak too soon, but I'm crossing my fingers. Hopefully in the next year or so. So there's a process to it. There's a process. There's a process to this, and it's beyond, like you said, it's hitting the Targets, hitting the Walmarts and the Costco's, and it's like the way that I've branded this product is to make it so that it is universal and that it's not only targeting the Asian community, but beyond that. So, and I'd hope that the name itself, the branding, and how we packaged everything, how we marketed would be something that anyone could enjoy. And so the idea is that hopefully I could get into the Targets and the Costco's and Walmarts and so on.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I'll take this one. I'll just take all of them.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of like foodies. We follow a lot of like similar foodies on IG, and I do see like people coming onto the scene of like wanting to sell things as well. What kind of advice would you give to somebody, Khmer, whether it be Khmer, non-Khmer, like who wants to start out their own business of selling sauces or jerkies like that? Like, where do you start?
Right. So it definitely is a process and is a commitment. It is a huge commitment, because I feel like if this is something you're completely serious about, it will run your entire life. Not that it's a terrible thing, but I mean, if it's something, because you have to, if you jump into this market, you have to be able to have the bandwidth and the capacity to fulfill orders, because you're in the service business in serving people. And if they order something, you have to deliver on those things. So you have to be committed to that in delivering your product. But I think ultimately what advice I usually give to people is a lot of it is in the marketing. A lot of it is, start with R&D, research and development. And that is, see if there's a market for your product, like how it will be received, if there's things that, because before we release anything, we always do R&D to make sure that, the taste is right, if it's even worth it to even release onto our store. And so I usually give it away to friends and family, Charles Calvino, of course, and then we work through that together to make sure there's adjustments needed. I mean, there are things that we have launched, and if it's too much overhead, or if it's, it could be a number of things, or if it's just not doing well, then we take it off the market. But we definitely, before we put anything out, we try to be diligent about doing our proper research, and then marketing, of course. I think that is a huge factor. I honestly can't stress that enough.
Well, Charles's video should be aired by this point, but we talked about how marketing is key, and his whole way of doing like food and aesthetics and things like that. He has like an eye for it too. So I think like you guys worked really well together as far as piecing just the company and all that stuff. So don't lose Charles.
Definitely. Charles is my heart and soul. I love that guy. I feel like I would have a meltdown if I ever lost him. But it's interesting. Like, I have so much love and adoration for this guy. I mean, from a personal level to a professional level, I respect him so wholeheartedly. And I take care of him. He takes care of me. We're so good to each other, and we're an awesome team, and we're like family. I mean, it's really, really hard to come by. Charles helps manages the marketing piece, and I'm so grateful for that.
We're almost out of time, but let's try to close this out, with a good question here. I feel like I'm confident, like if you came to my place and I'm going to cook something for you, I know how to make a good, like, mean cha nam. Like, that's like my signature dish. The kadam lady, the kadam girl, crab lady, whatever. What would you say you're known for if I were to come to your house and like nobody would complain if you made this one dish?
Okay, so I just want to say I'm gonna hold you to that as far as you being the kadam lady. So if it really is that good, you better be that. No, I'm just kidding.
I'll make you 3 different types, and then you can decide which one tastes better.
Okay, so I will say, it's very hard to narrow down because grung, right? Grung is such a significant ingredient in the Cambodian cuisine, right? And so it's hard for me, honestly, it's really hard for me to narrow down, but I guess I would say Samachu Krung and Cha Krung, which are very similar, I would say, with the exception that one is soup and one is not. So, they're both my favorites too. I will say this is the dish that was taught by my mom, and she makes the best Cha Krung. She makes the best Samachu Krung. I don't think anyone can beat it. So I'd hope that since she taught me, that no one could beat mine. No, I'm just kidding.
My chops.
It's really, really good. All right, see you there. I'll be competing against you. No,
oh God, you don't want to see myself. And that's fun fact, I like salama chukrung, but it's not like my favorite. Like it's like chew, and this is not for me. But okay, so salama chukrung, I'll make the chaglam, and then but I like your krung and the what is it? I made this the other day. It was chakrung with like coconut curry or coconut curry. So good.
So good. Love it.
Finger licking. Well, thank you so much for being a guest on my channel. I know you're like super busy and the time difference was a little bit early. Hopefully we can have you again another time when you're not at work. But so
thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It was really, really fun.
I appreciate it. And for those of you guys that don't know about Voracious Market, her information is here below. You can contact her, ask her any questions about her products, or you can ask me which ones are my favorite too. I'll let you know. All right. Any final thoughts? Shout outs you want to give out before we close out?
Well, special shout out to Spring Roll. Thank you so much for making when you had your comeback after disappearing on the world and featuring I think you did 2 videos for us at the time. And so thank you for that. And I think it was the start of that is what allowed us to meet you and get to know you. And we think you're great. We think you're awesome. We think you're doing such great things for the community. And we have so much love for you. So thank you. And
likewise,
appreciate it.
Welcome to
Take care.
Take care.
How do you say take care?
Oh, I don't know. I need a separate class for that. All right, guys. You guys know the drill. Until next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.